The retreat center at the top of the mountain, the air was as cold as a knife. Ethan Pay, the man I've known for 18 years, with a bald head and wearing a wide robe, calmly told me, "Ava, the engagement is cancelled. I won't marry you." I looked at him, the person I had followed around since I was 8 years old, calling him Brother Ethan. He shaved his head, and the arrogance between his brows seemed to have been smoothed out a bit, but the indifference carved into his bones had intensified. He didn't even bother to hide the contempt in his eyes, adding, "Scarlett is much better than you. Scarlett Jones." The name was like a thorn, piercing my heart. Childhood sweethearts, a family engagement, 24 years of affection, reduced to mere scraps of paper in his mouth. I thought he went to the mountains to escape family arrangements, for the sake of so-called freedom. Turns out, it was just for another woman. 18 years. I heard my voice trembling. "Ethan, we've known each other for 18 years. So?" he retorted, his tone calm and indifferent. "Ava, don't be naive. That was just a joke by the elders. Did you take it seriously?" I bit my lip hard, tasting the metallic tang of blood. A joke? From the time I was 8 years old, when my parents died unexpectedly and Grandpa Pay took me to the Pay family manor, he became the most important person in my life. He taught me to ride horses, took me climbing trees, and was the first to stand up for me when I was bullied. We grew up together, and everyone just assumed we were a couple. The family's marriage contract made it even more of a foregone conclusion. When I was 16, I first realized what this marriage contract meant, and I began to awkwardly avoid him, but he pressed closer step by step, his eyes growing deeper and deeper, until my 24th birthday. He got drunk, blocked my doorway, and asked me with red eyes, "Ava, do you have a heart at all? We grew up together since we were little, can't you feel it?" That night, he kissed me, and we became a couple. He was so good to me, so good that I thought we would really be like a fairy tale, and live happily ever after. He would remember my period and prepare brown sugar ginger tea in advance. He would take me to eat at all the newly opened restaurants in the city, just because I mentioned it casually. He would introduce me to all his friends, with a boastful tone. "This is Ava, my fiancée." All that sweetness has now turned into mockery. "A month ago," I said with difficulty, "Grandpa suggested we get engaged. Why didn't you say it directly?" That day at the Pay family's home banquet, Grandpa Pay said with a smile, "I think Ethan and Ava's relationship is stable. Why not get them engaged first?" I blushed at the time and secretly looked at Ethan. He suddenly slammed his chopsticks down, his face pale. "I will not get engaged." He looked at me with cold and unfamiliar eyes. "I have someone I like." Then, without even looking at us, he slammed the door and left, and the next day came the news that he had gone to the mountains to cultivate. Now I understand. The person he said he liked was Scarlett Jones. He wasn't even willing to negotiate even a little bit with his family for me. Directly using this most hurtful way gave me a slap in the face. "Speak directly?" Ethan asked as if he had heard a joke. "Ava, do you think Grandpa would agree if I told him? And would you let go easily?" He looked me up and down, his eyes like he was looking at a troublesome old object, rather than endless entanglement. "It's better to cut the Gordian knot quickly. Ava, face reality. We are not suitable for each other." My heart grew colder inch by inch. So, in his eyes, I was just a trouble that needed to be dealt with swiftly. I took a deep breath and suppressed the lump in my throat. "I understand. I will talk to Grandpa about the engagement and cancel it. I wish you, and your Buddha, and your Scarlett, well." After speaking, I turned around and left, not wanting to stay for even a moment. Ethan behind me didn't stop me, and didn't even show a hint of wanting me to stay. The cold wind pierced my coat, but it was not even 1/10,000th as cold as the chill in my heart. Coming down from the mountain, the news that I had been abandoned by Ethan Pay and that he had shaved his head for love had already spread throughout our circle. The various versions of rumors were unbearable to hear. Some people say I was clingy and shameless. Some people say I'm not good enough for Ethan and deserve to be dumped. Others gloat, saying that I, this fake rich girl, have finally been exposed. My parents were once veterans of the Pay group, making great contributions to the group, but they both died in an accident. Grandpa Pay, mindful of their past contributions, took me back to the Pay family to raise, declaring to the outside world that I was his granddaughter. But in the end, my last name is Miller, not Pay. In the eyes of those who were truly born with a silver spoon in their mouths, I'm just a dependent, a fallen noble. Before, Ethan protected me, and no one dared to say anything to my face. Now, I'd become the laughingstock of everyone's leisure time. I locked myself in the apartment, not answering calls or looking at messages, like a wounded ostrich, until Grandpa Pei called me personally. His voice carried an undeniable authority. "Ava, tomorrow is your birthday, and Grandpa is holding a birthday banquet for you at the manor. I know you feel wronged, but you are a granddaughter of the Pei family, and you must never bow your head at any time. Hold your head high and come to the banquet. I know that Grandpa Pei is supporting me. He wants to tell everyone in this way that even without Ethan, I am still the granddaughter recognized by the Pei family. I can't let his kindness down." "Okay, Grandpa, I will go." On the day of the birthday party, I dressed up carefully. I chose a champagne-colored dress and applied delicate makeup. The girl in the mirror looked a little pale, but her eyes were calm. "Ava Miller, you can't lose." The banquet hall was full of well-dressed people, with toasts and mingling. I appeared, arm in arm with Grandpa Pei, and immediately attracted everyone's attention. There was sympathy, curiosity, but more schadenfreude of watching a good show. I tried to ignore those unfriendly gazes and smiled to greet the familiar elders. Just then, there was a commotion at the entrance of the banquet hall. I subconsciously looked over, and my heart suddenly contracted. Ethan Pei, he actually came. He was wearing a well-tailored black suit, and his hair had grown a little longer, making him look even more rebellious. And beside him, intimately linked to his arm, was none other than Scarlett Jones. She wore a dazzling red dress. Her makeup was bright and beautiful, and she had a winner's smile on her face, as if she were showing off to me. They were like a dazzling couple, instantly stealing all the light. The guests' discussions grew louder. "Oh my God, Ethan actually brought that woman? Has he renounced his monastic life? For her? What will Ava do now? This is too embarrassing. I told you a long time ago. How could a woman from outside the family really marry into the Pei family?" I felt the blood rush to my face, then recede in an instant, leaving only a cold stiffness. Grandpa Pei's face also darkened, and he squeezed my hand tightly. Ethan walked straight towards us with Scarlett. He stopped in front of me, a cold arc forming at the corner of his lips. "Ava, happy birthday." His gaze swept over me, with undisguised scrutiny and mockery. "You're certainly patient." He leaned close to me and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, "I thought you would be begging me to come back." Then he straightened up, his voice not loud but enough for everyone around to hear. "Look at you, always so calm and collected, more like a Buddha than the one I worship." He questioned me. "You're just letting me go that easily?" I dug my nails deep into my palm, using all my strength to maintain a calm facade. "Let him go? What right do I have not to let him go? He was the one who gave up on our relationship first. He was the one who chose someone else first. Now, he's blaming me for being too generous?" I forced a stiff smile. "Brother Ethan, you're joking. We grew up together since childhood. We're siblings. What is there to forgive or not forgive?" I turned to Scarlett, trying to make my voice sound natural. "This must be Miss Scarlett? Hello, I'm Ava Miller." A hint of surprise flashed in Scarlett's eyes, which she quickly replaced with a perfect smile. "Miss Ava, I've heard so much about you. Ethan often mentions you." Her words were like a declaration of sovereignty, carrying a secret triumph. Ethan seemed very unhappy with my reaction. His brows furrowed. Grandpa Pei snorted coldly. "Ethan, watch your place. Today is Ava's birthday party, not a place for you to fool around." Ethan then restrained himself a bit, but the look he gave me was still cold. The banquet was halfway through, and I made an excuse to get some air and walked to the open-air balcony of the manor. The evening breeze blew on my face, slightly dispelling some of the suffocation in my heart. I didn't expect Scarlett to come out too. "Miss Ava, enjoying the breeze here alone?" She walked to my side, her tone familiar. "The scenery here is really beautiful. No wonder Ethan likes it so much." I didn't want to talk to her and turned to leave, but she stopped me. "Miss Ava, don't rush off. Shall we chat?" Her eyes held a provocation. "Actually, I admire you quite a bit. It's not easy to put up with Ethan for so many years, but, men, they always crave novelty." She flipped her hair, her smile bright. "Like Ethan said, I'm much more interesting than you." I looked at her and suddenly felt ridiculous. This is the woman Ethan would choose at all costs? Shallow and self-righteous. "Miss Scarlett," I said coldly, "if you're here to show off, then congratulations. You've succeeded, but I'm not interested in your interesting stories." The smile on Scarlett's face froze for a moment, then returned to normal. She approached me and lowered her voice. Ava, stop pretending to be noble. Do you think you've won? You're just the one who got dumped. As she spoke, her body suddenly leaned back as if she were about to fall. I subconsciously wanted to help her, but instantly realized she was trying to fake a fall to frame me. I abruptly withdrew my hand, took a step back, and said coldly, Scarlett Jones, stop with your cheap tricks. Just then, Scarlett exclaimed and really fell to the ground. Almost simultaneously, Ethan's figure rushed over. Without even looking at me, he pushed me aside. Ava, what are you doing? The force was so great that I staggered and bumped into the railing behind me, a sharp pain coming from my leg. Ethan anxiously helped Scarlett up. Scarlett, how are you? Are you hurt? Scarlett leaned against him, on the verge of tears. Ethan, I'm fine. Miss Ava probably didn't mean it. Her words seemed to be excusing me, but in reality, they confirmed that I pushed her. Ethan suddenly turned his head and glared at me fiercely. Ava Miller, I really misjudged you. You're so vicious. No wonder you can only be a penniless nobody. The words fallen noble were like a poison dagger, stabbing fiercely into my heart. So, in his heart, I was ultimately just an outsider living under his roof. All the affection, all the past, at this moment, had become a joke. My tears finally couldn't help but fall. It's not because of feeling wronged, but because of complete heartbreak. Looking at this perfect couple in front of me, seeing the disgust in Ethan's eyes and his care for Scarlett, I suddenly felt that everything was meaningless. I wiped away my tears, straightened my back, and said, Ethan Pay, you better never regret it. After speaking, I didn't look at them again and turned to leave the balcony. Returning to the banquet hall, I found Grandpa Pay and whispered, I'm not feeling well, I'll head back first. Grandpa Pay looked at me worriedly, but ultimately nodded. Leaving the manor, I wandered aimlessly down the street. The necklace around my neck was painfully digging into my skin. It was a simple platinum ring, worn on a chain, the first token of love Ethan gave me. He said he would tie me down firmly. Looking back now, how ironic. I walked into a dimly lit back alley and forcefully tore off the necklace around my neck. The cold touch of metal reminded me of my past foolishness. I threw it without hesitation into the smelly trash can. Goodbye, Ethan Pay. Goodbye, Ava Miller, who loved him for 18 years. I turned to leave, but bumped into a warm chest. Ava? A deep and familiar male voice sounded. I looked up and met a pair of deep eyes. It was Julian Pay, Ethan's older brother. He had just been transferred back from the overseas branch, travel-worn, with a hint of surprise on his face. What are you doing here? And, his gaze fell on my empty neck and the trash can beside me, as if deep in thought. I didn't want him to see my disheveled state, so I turned my face away. Brother Julian, I'm fine. Fine? Julian frowned. He was a few years older than Ethan, with a more composed and reserved demeanor. Your eyes are all red. He sighed. Come with me. He grabbed my wrist and led me to a nearby bar. Maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe it was Julian's calm eyes that put me at ease, but I couldn't help but pour out all the grievances and pain that had been building up in my heart. From Ethan's betrayal, to the humiliation at the birthday party, to the complete despair just now. Julian listened quietly the whole time, occasionally handing me tissues, his eyes filled with emotions I couldn't understand. After I had cried enough and was tired of talking, I was already completely drunk. I lay on the bar, vaguely hearing Julian say, Ava, don't be sad. That kind of man isn't worth it. Leaving him is a good thing. I muttered, I know, but what will I do in the future? Marry me. Julian_'s voice came through clearly. I suddenly looked up, thinking I had misheard. What? Julian looked at me, his eyes serious. I'm saying, Ava, marry me. I know it's abrupt to say this now, but I'm serious. I will be good to you, better than anyone else. You don't have to love me. You can use me, take revenge on Ethan, take back what belongs to your parents. You can do anything, as long as you nod. I stared at him blankly, my mind a blank. Marry Julian, Ethan's brother? This is too crazy. But, looking into his sincere eyes and feeling the power in his words, something in a corner of my heart seemed to loosen. Use him? Take revenge on Ethan? Once this thought arose, it grew wildly like a vine. Before I could answer, I was completely drunk. Paid content prompt. Will Ava accept Julian's proposal? Is this sudden marriage a redemption or another abyss? How will Ethan react when he finds out? The following plot will be even more exciting, and Ava's counterattack is about to begin. Asterisk asterisk. Paid content divider. My head was splitting with a throbbing headache. The after effects of a hangover. Awake? Julian's voice sounded beside me. He sat on the chair beside the bed, holding a document in his hand. When he saw that I was awake, he put the document down. How do you feel? I rubbed my temples. My head hurts a bit. How did I get to the hospital? You drank too much last night and had a bit of a fever, so I brought you here, Julian explained. The doctor said it's nothing serious, just rest. He paused, a hint of inquiry in his eyes. Do you remember what I said last night? A marriage proposal. I remember. I looked at Julian. His expression was calm, but there was a hint of subtle tension in his eyes. Marry him? That's too impulsive. But if I don't marry him, what else can I do? Continue to be that laughable down and out? Watch Ethan and Scarlett live happily ever after? Julian seemed to see through my hesitation. He stood up, walked to the bedside, and squatted down. He picked up my shoes that were placed by the bed, a pair of high heels. The doctor said you'd better wear flats. He took out his phone, seemingly wanting his assistant to send shoes over. I subconsciously shrunk back my feet. No need to bother. Just then, Julian's gaze fell on my calf. There was a clear bruise there, left by Ethan pushing me against the railing last night. Julian's face instantly darkened, and his eyes became sharp. What's going on? His voice carried a suppressed anger. I pursed my lips, not wanting to mention that name. I bumped into it accidentally. Ran into? Julian clearly didn't believe it. Ethan did it, right? He listened to me cry for so long last night, so naturally he knows what happened at the banquet. Seeing that I didn't speak, Julian stood up, emanating a cold aura. He dares to touch you. Ava, don't worry, I won't let this matter rest. He took out his phone, seeming like he was going to make a call. I quickly stopped him. Brother Julian, don't. I don't want to make a big deal out of things, and I especially don't want him to get into trouble with Ethan for my sake. After all, they are brothers. Julian put down his phone and looked at me deeply. Ava, you are always so soft-hearted, but some people are not worth your soft heart. He squatted down again, picked up my high heels, and gently put them on for me. His fingers were warm and dry, and I shivered slightly when they touched my ankle. As for last night's proposal, he raised his head, looking at me intently. You can take your time to consider it. There's no need to rush to answer me. Whatever decision you make, I will support you. His gentle tone and firm gaze calmed my chaotic heart a little. In the following days, I kept thinking about Julian's proposal. On the one hand, marrying him seemed to be the quickest way to get out of trouble and even take revenge on Ethan. I can use the identity of the Pei family's eldest grandson's wife to take back the shares and due respect that belonged to my parents in the Pei group. Julian also said that I am allowed to take advantage of him. On the other hand, could this be escaping the tiger's den only to enter the wolf's lair? Is Julian so good to me because he really likes me, or is it a momentary impulse, or does he have other plans? I don't want to repeat the same mistakes, and I don't want to pin my happiness on others again. Just as I was struggling, Ethan's phone call came. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital room. Sunlight streamed in through the window, a bit blinding. I looked at the name jumping on the screen, hesitated for a long time, but still answered it. Ava. Ethan's voice sounded a little impatient. What is it? I tried to make my tone sound calm. Scarlett is in a bad mood. Call Grandpa right now and beg him to let Scarlett return to work at the Pei group. His tone was matter of fact, with a commanding tone. Scarlett's job? I then remembered that Scarlett was previously a junior employee in the marketing department of the Pei group. Because of the scandal with Ethan and the fake fall incident at the banquet, Grandpa Pei ordered her to be fired. Now, Ethan is actually asking me to beg for mercy? Does he really take me for a servant who can be ordered around at will? I laughed in anger. Ethan Pei, what makes you think I would help you? My heart skipped a beat. Because you still like me. Ethan's voice was certain. Ava, don't be stubborn. I know you still can't let me go. Help me with this favor, and in the future. He hadn't finished speaking when the door to the locker room behind me was pushed open. I was silent. Julian walked in. He had obviously heard the content of the phone call, and his brow was slightly furrowed. I was about to hang up, but Julian quickly walked to my side, reached out, and covered my mouth. I opened my eyes wide in surprise. Julian shook his head at me, then took my phone and pressed the hands-free button. On the other end of the phone, Ethan was still talking to himself. I'll consider giving you some compensation in the future. As for Scarlett, you coax her. She's just a woman. Julian's eyes turned cold. He faced the phone and interrupted Ethan in my tone, imitating quite well. Ethan, have you got something wrong? Ethan on the other end of the phone was obviously stunned. Ava? Julian continued to use my voice to say, why should I help you? Scarlett's work. What does it have to do with me? Also, stop being sentimental. I'm not interested in you anymore. After saying that, Julian hung up the phone directly. I stared at him blankly. He released the hand covering my mouth, a meaningful smile appearing at the corner of his lips. It seems my brother still hasn't recognized reality. He leaned close to me, his warm breath caressing my ear, his voice low and seductive. Ava, do you want him to understand even more clearly? My offer still stands. I allow you to use me. At that moment, the balance in my heart completely tilted. To hell with hesitation. To hell with worries. Ethan Pay has hurt me so badly, and he still wants me to plead for his new love? Dream on. I want him to know that I, Ava Miller, am not indispensable to him. I want him to regret it. I looked at Julian with firm eyes and said, okay, I promise you, we'll get married. A glint of light flashed in Julian's eyes, followed by a gentle smile. 3 days later, I took a printed document and knocked on Grandpa Pay's study door. Grandpa. Grandpa Pay put down his reading glasses and looked at me. Ava, you're here. I took a deep breath and handed him the document. Grandpa, this is our wedding invitation, from Julian and me. Grandpa Pay was stunned for a moment, then took the invitation and looked at it carefully. There was no surprise on his face, but rather a knowing and gratified smile. Figured it out? He asked gently. I nodded. I figured it out. Grandpa, I said a little nervously. You don't object? Why should I object? Grandpa Pay smiled. Julian is a good boy, calm and responsible. I'm relieved that you're marrying him. He patted my hand and said, Grandpa knows you've been wronged. That bastard Ethan. I'll teach him a lesson. From now on, with Julian protecting you, Grandpa can rest assured. With Grandpa Pay's support, the last weight in my heart was lifted. Just then, the door to the study was thrown open. Ethan burst in, leaning on a crutch, one leg in a cast, his face filled with anger and disbelief. Grandpa, Ava, what are you talking about? Marriage? Marriage to whom? He saw the invitation in my hand and snatched it away. When he saw the name on it clearly, his face instantly turned pale. Julian? You're going to marry Julian? He suddenly looked at me, his eyes as if they were about to breathe fire. Ava Miller, are you crazy? You know very well that He seemed to want to say something, but swallowed it back down. He pointed to his leg in a cast. You're doing this to get revenge on me? Having Julian break my leg wasn't enough, so you're going to marry him to disgust me? Only then did I realize that Julian had really gone to settle accounts with Ethan. I was stunned. Looking at Ethan's frustrated appearance, I felt no ripples in my heart, and even found it a little ridiculous. Ethan, who I married, doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. I said calmly, we're over. Over? You say it's over and it's over? Ethan was very emotional. Ava, you can't marry him. He's my brother. You bastard. Shut up. Grandpa Pay shouted sternly. What right do you have to yell here? Who Ava marries is none of your business. I'm telling you, as long as I'm alive, you can forget about hurting Ava again. You want that Scarlett reinstated, right? Grandpa Pay sneered. Okay, the day your brother and Ava get married, you honestly go be Julian's best man, and I'll let that woman come back to work. Ethan's face turned from green to white, clearly angered by the condition. Be the best man? Watch his former fiancée marry his own brother. This is simply a great humiliation. He glanced at the caller ID. It was Scarlett. He hesitated for a moment, but finally answered the phone. Scarlett's sobbing voice came from the other end of the phone, saying something incoherent. Ethan's face immediately turned anxious. Scarlett? What's wrong? Don't cry. I'll be right there. He hung up the phone, didn't even look at me and Grandpa Pay, and rushed out, hobbling with his crutches. Watching his back as he left without hesitation, I felt completely relieved. This man has never truly had me in his heart. All his affection was just my illusion. Perhaps what happened between him and me was truly a karmic entanglement. However, it's all over now. Never look back. One day before the wedding, I went to the bridal shop to pick up my custom-made wedding dress. At the elevator entrance, I unexpectedly ran into Ethan. He looked much more haggard, and his leg injury hadn't fully recovered, but he no longer needed crutches. He looked at me with a complex expression. Ava, he called out to me. I stopped and looked at him calmly. He held a beautifully packaged gift box in his hand. "This is for you. Birthday. A belated birthday present for you." His tone carried a hint of unnatural tenderness. I didn't refuse and took the gift box. "Thank you, Ethan." I looked at him, my tone sincere. "The past is in the past. I hope you and Miss Scarlett can eventually become husband and wife." Ethan's body stiffened suddenly, and his face turned pale instantly. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain and regret. He opened his mouth as if wanting to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. I nodded slightly to him, then turned and walked into the elevator. The elevator doors closed slowly, cutting off his painful gaze. I looked down at the gift box in my hand and casually put it in my bag. What it is, no longer matters. My future has nothing to do with him anymore. Grand and solemn, Julian was wearing a white suit, handsome and tall, standing at the end of the red carpet, looking at me with gentle eyes. Okay, I was wearing a pure white wedding dress, holding Grandpa Pay's arm, walking towards him step by step. I know this is not a start filled with love, but it is a start filled with hope, a new life that belongs to me. Ava Miller. Ethan stood behind Julian as the best man. His face was very unpleasant, and his eyes were fixed on me, full of unwillingness and pain. When Julian took my hand from Grandpa Pay, I could feel Ethan's gaze stabbing into my back like a knife. When exchanging rings, Julian's hands trembled slightly, his eyes were fiery and affectionate. "Ava, I love you," he whispered in my ear. I was stunned for a moment, then returned a smile. "Whether there is love or not, maybe it's not that important. The important thing is that we chose each other." As expected, Scarlett returned to her job after the wedding, but I heard that she wasn't having a good time at the company. Although Julian didn't overtly suppress her, the people below acted according to his unspoken cues, and no one wanted to get too close to her. And Ethan, it seemed, was also tired of her endless troubles and complaints, and became more and more indifferent to her. The married life was peaceful and unexpectedly harmonious. Julian is very busy, but he spends time with me whenever he is free. He respects my wishes and gives me enough space and freedom. When I expressed my desire to join the Pay Group and reclaim what belonged to my parents, he supported me without hesitation. He personally guided me, taught me the business, and helped me clear obstacles. With my own efforts and Julian's help, I gradually gained a foothold in the group. Those who once laughed at me as a fallen noble now respectfully call me Madam or Director Ava when they see me. Ethan came to see me a few times. The first time was downstairs at the company. He stopped my car and looked at me with a painful expression. "Ava, let's talk." I rolled down the car window. "Mr. Ethan, please make an appointment if you need something." After saying that, he told the driver to start the car. The second time was at a business dinner. He drank a lot of wine, grabbed my wrist, and said in a hoarse voice, "Ava, I know I was wrong. Can you come back? I can't live without you." Julian calmly broke his hand away, shielded me behind him, and looked at him with cold eyes. "Ethan, please respect yourself." The third time, he barged directly into Julian's and my house. At that time, Julian and I were watching a movie in the living room. Ethan rushed in, knelt down in front of me, and cried bitterly, "Ava, I regret it. I really regret it. Scarlett is no match for you at all. I was blind. Please forgive me, okay? Let's start over." He was immensely wealthy, the second young master of the Pay Group, but at this moment he was like a child who had lost everything, humbly begging for my forgiveness. His status, his wealth, seemed so powerless at this moment. "Ethan," I said calmly, "it's too late. Some people, once missed, are missed for a lifetime. My current husband is Julian, and I am very happy. Please don't bother our lives anymore in the future." Julian called the security guard and invited the distraught Ethan out. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. After that night, Ethan completely disappeared from my life. I heard that he resigned from his position in the group and left the city. No one knows where he went. He and Scarlett have long since parted ways. Time is the best medicine and the fairest judge. It made me see who was sincere and who was fake. It also made the person who didn't know how to cherish pay the price they deserved. I leaned against Julian's chest, watching the starry sky outside the window. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked gently. I smiled and said, "I was thinking, I'm so glad I met you." Julian tightened his arms and placed a kiss on my forehead. "Me too. I am no longer the Ava Miller who needs to depend on others to survive. I have my own career, a husband who loves me, and a life in my own hands." Independence and confidence are a woman's greatest strength. As for those missed sceneries, let them go with the wind. People always have to look forward, right? The wedding took place as scheduled. I looked at him, my heart completely unmoved.